Today we're looking at the very serious issue of rape. Casey spoke to cultural expert Baba Buntu recently about rape, and particularly rape within the African context. Let's take a look.
Hello and welcome. We've got in studio today, I have to read his name, it's quite long, Baba Amani Olubanjo Buntu. Did I say that right?
That's right, yes.
Okay, we'll stop smiling now because we're talking about rape, rage, and culture. I have your thesis here. It won an award at the Department of Education at the University of South Africa. We're talking about rape in the context of Africa. Can a woman rape a man, or rape? Can she rape? Can a woman rape?
Absolutely. There are, especially through coercion, through the situation that can arise in a flirtatious moment. Also, it can be, of course, in this time and age, we have Viagra, we have other tablets and things that can kind of create a sense of arousal, even if your mind doesn't really want that. And I think it's important, we must understand sexuality, and issues related to sexuality are very complex. It means that as a man, my body can be ready for a sexual act, but my mind might say that this is not really what I should do, this is not really what I want to do, and I must be able to exercise the right to also say no as a man, which is quite contrary to what many of us believe as African men we can.
And is there any relationship between poverty and rape?
Absolutely. Poverty is a violation in itself. When you cannot look after yourself, when you cannot look after your family, already that is a violation. And a common understanding within psychology is that hurt people hurt people. It doesn't mean that because you are poor, you are going to commit crime or rape. It doesn't mean that. But it means that if we really want to solve rape, we also need to solve issues of poverty, issues of political empowerment, issues of the gender politics that we carry in some of our countries. This is quite destructive to our understanding of self, and it creates a ground in which sometimes rape also becomes an outlet.
How can the vulnerable in society, women, children, protect themselves against rape?
Well, I think for me, and this is why I wrote the thesis as well, I wanted to challenge myself as an African man. And believe me, when I was even starting to think about the topic, I said, no, let me not even go there. It's going to be so complicated just to go into all this pain. And it embarrasses me as a man as well to know that there are other men who think this is okay. But I wanted to challenge myself. And I want to say this as African men as well. I don't want to leave the responsibility to women and they should just look after themselves. They should just stay indoors. They shouldn't. That is not okay. I also have a responsibility as an African man. What do I do in my community to teach young men about their understanding of values? What do I do to raise confident women who know that it's okay to say no in a situation, also know that they don't have to just go along with everything that has been presented to them? So I want to see it as a societal responsibility that we all have.
Okay, and there's this, and I've seen this also in parts like in Uganda. I know miniskirts have been banned, and there's been the idea that she was wearing a short skirt. She was half naked, so she deserved it. She wanted. So the idea of dress sense, how does that play into rape?
You know, I want to say something. I think as a continent that have had very deep understanding of morality, of what is right and what is wrong, it's okay for us to have a discussion about what is decent, what is okay. That is fine. But that does not allow any of us to say that if a woman dresses in a certain way, we can violate her, we can disrespect her, we can rip off her clothes, and we can do nasty things to her. That doesn't even make sense. And I think that the reason why we allow that to happen is because we have accepted a form of patriarchy that I actually don't even believe is originally African, where we devalue women and we say that because women are so low, they must be told, they must be taught, and whatever happens, they just had it coming.
In certain cultures in Africa, are certain cultures more accepting of rape than others?
I want to say that in its original form, Africa has never allowed or thought in any favorable way about rape.
Okay.
But I think as the continent has had to process so much violence for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, where everything has been stripped away for so many African people in terms of resources, in terms of culture, in terms of understanding even of self. In that process, also values have been taken away from some people. I'm not saying this is a general form. Most of us know that rape is not okay. But it creates a situation where some of us will use culture as an excuse to say that I hit my woman, or I raped my wife, or I did this to this young woman because she deserved it, and because I'm a man, and because she's a woman. But African culture has never, in my understanding from its originality, said that that is okay. It's an interpretation that we have made to suit ourselves now.
Okay, but Baba, people will challenge that to say that in traditional African setting, the man was the be-all and end-all. And as a result of that, things like violence, which you've just mentioned, gender violence and rape, are obvious consequences. How do you respond to that?
I want to challenge that again, because when normally if I'm an African man and I say that, no, my woman doesn't even speak to me, she must just be quiet. And that's because I'm an African man, I'm a traditional man.
She's there to be seen, not to be heard.
Exactly. Now, who did I learn this from? My father. Who raised my father? My grandfather. Where did my grandfather go to school? Which books did my grandfather read? Did he have access to understand what it means to be an African man? No, he was stripped from being a man. He went to a missionary school where he had to just learn everything that was un-African about him. What I'm trying to say is that over the years, especially the last 500 years, we cannot just point back 200 years and say that's the originality, because it's been taken away. So many waves of violations have happened. So I think we need to be a little bit careful when we say this is African or that is African. I agree that some of these negative behaviors that we just talked about now maybe have become African, or they become part of African reality. But I want us to allow ourselves to question that. What is our original culture? What did Africa originally teach? And from what I see and from what I have researched, there's a completely different. Actually, in African culture, deeply, women were highly respected. Women were seen as centers of power. And just ask yourself, how was the woman decided to be the birth machinery? Isn't that the most powerful thing in the world?
Baba Buntu, he's challenging the notion that our African culture promoted rape. Quite a heavy topic. Baba will be back in studio to discuss many other things. He's got a wealth of information. So do we here on Ed. So keep it locked on this channel for more knowledge and more inspiration.